Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Heir's Lair. I'm your host, Jonathan Taylor. Welcome back to another casual discussion video, one that will mark the second anniversary of both my YouTube channels. I will do, I'll be doing anniversary videos on both of them, starting with this one for my main channel. The last time I did such a casual discussion on my channel was again for an anniversary. Link to that right over there. And last time I did it, I talked about my favorite book of all time. Right now, I wanted to make a video, a discussion about a book that, in hindsight, was a major influence uh, uh, on myself intellectually, socially, and in general shaped a lot of my opinions or standings on certain topics that would become much more relevant in the future. The book in question is How to Be Idle, a Loafer's Manifesto by Tom Hodgkinson. Uh, a brief intro about the author. Tom Hodgkinson is a British author and columnist who is, as far as I can tell, very critical of the way modern societies, modern post-Cold War societies, to be more precise, uh, uh, view, discuss, and uh, conceptualize work, as in the working day and the expectations that people uh, uh, bring into or construct around the idea of the uh, modern job and workplaces in general. It's very it's He recognizes that it is based in Protestant, or rather neo-Protestant work ethics, which is heavily based on which in and of itself is based a lot on hierarchical assessments, which are supposedly based on based on correctness and based on merit and based upon who has who has demonstrably made the best improvements or is capable of making the best improvements. However, in practice, we all know that's not really how modern workplaces actually function. It's how they should function, maybe, but it's not how they do function. And Hodgkinson has spent a lot of his time and career building up one potential alternative to that, namely being idle in that sense. And actually has a pretty complex idea of what idleness is. One that is more one that is more intricate and a little bit more expansive than just do nothing and expect things to work out. And uh, and which is why I think in hindsight this book is still would be worth exploring. I've checked some reviews of it. Um, on Goodreads, it has a 3.78, which for Goodreads is not exactly great, but as I said, it influenced me quite a bit, and uh, and uh, and looking back, I think it helped me realize a lot of things about my life and about what I considered would be the most relevant aspects of my life that I wanted to not just assimilate but also bring forth. And as I said, Hodgkinson has built a reputation, a career based on this idea, because this is not the only book he wrote about this topic, and he has also made several videos exploring this topic. So, in case you're interested, his internet presence is pretty easily accessible, and you will be able to you know, find at least some things of find a gist of his philosophy, even if you don't want to go too in depth. that being said, what characterizes how to be idle? Well, in some ways, it's actually kind of styled as a self-help book, in that it presents various situations and gives various guidance suggestions for how to react within those situations. The main difference being that this book has 24 chapters, one for every hour in the day, and within each of these hours in the day, Hodgkinson presents his approach to something that is stereotypically associated with that particular hour. So, for example, when it comes to waking up early, he says he says that a loafer or an idler would notice, oh, it's early. I can go back to sleep again, because why wake up earlier? It's not like I have it. It's not like it is required of me to be up this early. And and also he talks about napping. He talks about taking prolonged lunches. He talks about partying in various other in various chapters of the book. But then again, it's not raw hedonism. I I kind of have the impression a lot of people will walk away thinking that this is what this book is about, isn't just being it's just about being lazy. But it's not actually about being lazy, or it is not about being it is about being lazy for a purpose. Let's I think that's the best way to I think that's the best way to express it. What is that purpose? Well, that's the thing. Kind of in the same vein as Nietzsche's philosophy. He didn't really have a direct purpose aside from tear down the existing establishment, because that existing establishment is for various reasons harmful. And what you should replace it with instead is not uh, is not fixed. It's not something it's not something directly obvious, and it is not something that is universally applicable. It is instead about finding your own path, finding the one thing is uh, that is most rewarding to that is most rewarding to you. And that is what being idle is really based on. That you have the time to reflect, that you have the time to uh, consider what it is that actually interests you, that actually expands your mind, what it is that actually presents to you new possibilities that you really want to explore. One thing that one thing that does get mentioned overall is that uh, is that a lot of the preconceptions about idleness are just that, preconceptions. As in, you can be idle but still be prolific. Uh, the best example for that I think Hodgkinson himself also mentions is Oscar Wilde, who was generally an idle, a libertine. You could even call him a hedonist, but he was also one of the most uh, prolific authors and essayists of his day. Like he knew what he wanted to talk about, converse about, create about, and and he dedicated his career towards delivering that. And Hodgkinson wants everyone to uh, have at least the mental means, or the presence of mind, to where they can figure out that is an option to them, and that is something that they could explore. Some of the critiques on Goodreads that I mentioned say that he can afford to be idle because because he's British, basically. Whereas whereas other people have uh, have contractual obligations to contractual obligations to follow, kids to feed, workplaces that rely on them. And I think a lot of those people are actually missing the forest for the trees. And the Great Resignation is actually that is currently going on is actually the biggest manifestation of that. People are realizing that the existing work paradigm or work relationships that have become prevalent ever since the end of the Second World War are not actually as beneficial to them uh, uh, as they are told they should be, and they need they need the extra time, and they also need to find the uh, no, the resources the uh, and the and other means through which to for which to achieve their goals. I also spend a lot of time on Tumblr, and I also see a lot of critiques coming from that, namely about how a lot of people would want to be uh, librarians or landscapers or anything else of the sort. However, those which are and a lot of other professions which are recognized as useful, at least to a certain extent. However, because of their general requirements, they uh, they need to seek out either either more either employment that pays more or a second job, and that ends up ends up harming their quality of life. Even though these jobs are still relevant, they are not really rewarded to the extent to which they it would be they to which yeah this yeah this is the problem of trying to be casual. You're not always perfectly fluent. Now, as I said, a lot of people are looking for uh, employment opportunities that are somewhat atypical uh, of the 9 to 5, but are still recognized uh, as necessary and as helpful, or at least are generally recognized as such, but are not uh, remunerated as such. And that is and that is to and that would be to Hodgkinson as well a sign of protest, and a sign that uh, people should just slow down and should uh, go out and make their demands. Making their demands does not make them lazy. Not wanting to work in the way that the current market dictates they should does not make them lazy. It makes them aware. It makes them realize they could do something that they genuinely found fulfilling. They could pursue their happiness, as has been defined as their right by by uh, by pretty much any society that either calls itself liberal or has liberal roots, and that is something that should be pursued. That is something I myself uh, also pursue. And it might not because yeah, I want to go on a little tangent about my own private life, because I also work a 9 to 5 ish kind of thing, and it'd be more accurate to call it an 8 to 5, because because I have a lunch break. It's really part of the contract, and it's part of the uh, and it's part of company policy. I'm pretty sure it's actually what the law requires one to do as well. And uh, and also my commute is like an hour long either way. So I overall spend somewhere around uh, 11 hours a day on just a regular day, uh, doing things for work. and all of the time when I'm not asleep, I could do all the time when I'm not asleep or I'm not otherwise, you know, getting ready, mm, dealing with personal hygiene. I could, I could just laze. I could just be idle. But I'm not just, but I'm not just standing around doing nothing. I'm actually, uh, uh, as, as you know, given what the kind of what kind of channel this is, I actually write, and sometimes it's scripts for YouTube, but most of the time it's for my book, and I also spend a lot of time trying to market, trying to build connections, both with general audiences and among other authors, trying to figure out what other perspectives there are, what other what points of interest I could find. This and I have to say that if I had more than and if I had more than 2 or maybe 4 hours a day on weekdays and somewhat more on weekends to do that, I would do exactly that. So just because I wouldn't follow a typical you know 9 to 5 job, it would not mean that I would be doing nothing. In fact, if anything, I might actually be more active, because really the 9 to 5 uh, really just fuels what I do when I get to be idle, and that is true a whole variety of for a whole variety of other people. So uh, a whole variety of other people who have day jobs, uh, the 9 to 5, and who then go on to do various other things. It could be some kind of it could be some kind of artisanal hobby. It could be it could be other writers. It could be people who it could be people who have their own news channel. It could be people who do could be people who do reviews, do commentaries, do podcasts. If they had time away from their job, they would do the same thing. They would not just they would not just laze around as a lot of propaganda, as I'm pretty sure Hodgkinson would call it, uh, would say. People actually want to be productive, but they want to be productive within the spheres that interest that interest them, and the 9 to 5 very much takes away the opportunities for them to find out. It takes away the opportunities for them to uh, realize what it is they are after, and what it is that would make them more more engaged with the topics that actually interest them, and more engaged with the world as a whole. And this is not really something revolutionary, and I don't I don't care if you think that's too political. It's just the truth. And in many ways, I think Hodgkinson's book was really the first avenue through which I've really come to realize that, and it then went on to lay out the groundwork for a lot of my future conceptions what about what the role of the society in the life of the individual is. And by society, I don't just mean I don't just mean government. I don't just mean the mayor's office. I don't just mean stuff like police or emergency services. But I also mean the places where most people spend most of their days, and how it is that they set out rules and standards for themselves. So yeah, that's actually quite there's actually quite a bit of depth here. Not that you only really realize once you consider it. So if anything I've said so far about this book makes makes it sound like an interesting read, then uh, and go ahead and acquire it. I can only encourage you to do so. And if you're thinking, well, that sounds good, but I'm still not convinced, I'll say it again. The author has a significant internet presence otherwise. Like, he has done video interviews, and I'm pretty sure he has done other interviews as well, in which he explains a lot of his stances. And also, if you happen to read this book and consider it so great you want to seek out more from this guy, well, he has also written more, just in case you're interested. I have to confess I haven't really read any more from him, but I'm fine with that. Like, this book of his has given me what I needed. What I needed overall, even if not necessarily at that time, and I'm grateful it went over my eyes, or in front of them. And yeah, that was my video. Thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed it, then please leave a like and maybe even share it wherever you think other people will like it as well. If you have anything you'd like to add to what it is I said in this video, the comment section awaits your input. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. Ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. My debut novel, Heir to the Empire, The Next Generation, is available at most major book retailers under a master link in the description down below. Right past my social media, which I also suggest you check out should you feel so inclined. Until next time, I am Jonathan Taylor, and this has been The Heir's Lair.